Hi, this is My Two Favorite Librarians. I'm Denise Corey.
I'm Chantel Taylor, and today we're talking about best of lists.
Oh, I do love a best of list.
You do?
I do.
Now, before Christmas, we had talked about reading challenges.
Yes.
Which is one of your favorite ways to find new books. But best of lists are an excellent other way of finding new books.
I also really love the year-end best of lists. So they're, the best books of this year or the best romance books or whatever. And, I'm throwing that out there for you.
Thank you.
But then there's also the 100 best novels ever. And I love going through those lists.
And I know sometimes when we're doing programs at work or when I'm looking for book club ideas to bring to my book club, there are often the best upcoming romances of summer 2018 or the best anticipated mysteries. So there's all kinds of different best of lists.
There are other lists that don't say that they're the best, but they're curated lists so that it's, here's a list of historical fiction set between World War I and World War II. They can be very specific.
Book Riot often has some really interesting book lists.
I do love the Book Riot lists.
Yes. Goodreads has a lot of lists, but because it's a social media kind of site, it's person populated. You put in your opinion. And so sometimes when you're looking for the best romance or the best YA, whatever, your lists are a little unusual. They're things that I wouldn't necessarily classify.
It depends on the person who has made the list.
But it can be a really great way to find a whole whack of books to start reading.
It's true. The other place that I like to look at for book lists is the CBC book website.
Oh, interesting.
They have a really great end of the year book list, so the best of 2018. They have a lot of Canadian content, which I know is your favorite.
Yes, it is.
Lies. She hates the CanCon. But they do. I like a lot of book lists on CBC because they focus on things that you might not find on other book lists, like the top 20 Indigenous authors or, just really interesting stuff. Do you ever go through those best 100 novels lists?
Yes.
And then tick off how many you've read?
Yes, I do. And
judge them?
Yes. All the time. Like I said, when we're looking for program ideas or when I did my graphic novel session and I have to go through and find bunches of superhero or different things that's not necessarily sitting on my shelf or maybe something that's really obscure or really indie that I wouldn't know about, those lists are fantastic.
Also, I know you mentioned Goodreads already, but they have their year-end best of that is voted on by members of Goodreads.
So I voted.
Yeah.
I actually this year on Goodreads had not a lot of books that I knew. I was really
or books that I've meant to read, but I just haven't gotten to yet.
And some people have issue with the Goodreads list because they're not necessarily the most literary books that have come out, but they are the books that Goodread readers have read. They're the popular books, and that audience is voting on them.
And I think that's really more important
than
being the most literary book. I think it should be a book that people want to read.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I know that we mentioned this in the last show, but the library staff, some of them have sent in their top 5 reads of last year. And these don't necessarily have to be books that were published last year. They don't have to be books even that the library owns, just their 5 favorite things they read last year. And we're posting them up on the website. And I got a few of them before the new year, and then I have a few more that I have to add. So the list will continue to grow a little bit.
You can also create your own best of lists on your social media. Put out your 5 top 5 favorite and ask your friends to give you their favorite from the last year or whatever you want to, their favorite book club reads or their favorite whatever.
Did you see that Jelana did that on Facebook?
Did I see that? I may have seen it. I've been kind of banning Facebook from my life. I've taken it off my phone.
It's probably for the best. But Joanna had posted her top 5 reads and then asked other people what their top 5 reads were.
Interesting.
And then so a bunch of her friends posted about, these were the books I loved, or a lot of us mentioned Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine, which made both of our top 5 lists for last year.
And it's unusual for us to have very similar book tastes.
Oh, it's such a good book. If you have not read Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine yet, you really should do that. It is so good.
One of the lists that I found when I was doing research and I was looking for, and I specifically Googled best of fiction 2018, Mental Floss had a really, really good curated list from their staff members. And I was really intrigued. It was 56 books. And they had no sort of qualifications of how. They just said, you know what, we get hundreds and hundreds of books to review, and these were our sort of favorite. And it was a real interesting mix of like fiction, nonfiction, like popular culture things. The Mr. Rogers biography was on there. There was a book about the Beastie Boys. I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara, which we mentioned, was there. There was a romance book there, which no one ever puts a romance on their best of. So mentalfloss.com, if you're looking for best of 2018, Educated was on there by Tara Westover.
Yeah.
There was like historical fiction. There was some it was a really good, interesting list.
I know we also already talked about our book stats, but as we had said before, we were pre-recording our show. So
over Christmas.
I want to let you know that I finished the year with 84 books read.
And I finished the year with 126 books read.
Show off. I also broke mine down. 87% of them were fiction. 13% were nonfiction. Only 1% were graphic novels.
Interesting.
88% were adult books. 7% were teen books. And 5% were children's books. 40% of the books that I read last year were audiobooks.
Interesting.
93% of the books I read last year belonged to the library.
Good job.
What a shocker. Apparently, I really but it helps.
Is your job.
It helps
it
though
is your
that,
job.
We get to see all of the new books when they come in. So I add them to my list immediately.
I did not break down my books, but I would say the majority of mine were adult. I did have I think I had 80 graphic novels or 75 or something like that. So the vast majority were graphic novels. I had a lot of romance. I'm not sad about it.
What are you reading right now?
Well, I'm currently reading Best of Luck by Kate Claiborne. And it was recommended through the podcast the romance podcast that I'm listening to.
Is it a romance?
And the sort of this is the third book in the series. I'm starting with number 3 because it's the one they recommended. And the setup for the series is that these 3 friends win the lottery. And so it's enough money to do something with, to change your life, but not retire at 25 and live champagne wishes and caviar dreams kind of thing. So in this book, she has gone to get her degree, which she wasn't able to get. So she's going to school. And so this fell under the podcast of friend sibling. That's a common romance trope that you fall in love with somebody's brother or whatever.
Oh, right. I am reading The Outsiders by Stephen King.
Oh.
Or The Outsider. I keep calling it The Outsiders, and then it's no, that's a different book. The Outsider, an 11-year-old boy is found dead, and a local teacher and baseball coach is accused of doing it. There's a ton of witnesses that see him both with this kid and later on covered in blood. But the only problem is there are also a ton of witnesses that put him in a completely different city at the exact same time. So the whole thing is, how can he be in 2 places at once? And who actually killed this boy?
Is this a new book?
It is new. Yeah, it came out in 2018.
I might actually have to read that because it's very true crime-esque in a way.
And it's I'm listening to it on audiobook.
Mm-hmm.
and it's read by Will Patton,
Oh,
who is
Our favorite.
one of my favorite audiobook readers. I mean, he really brings the characters to life for you.
He's got a
love
good
him.
voice,
He has
yeah.
a great voice. So, in fact, that's why I chose to listen to it on audiobook instead of reading it, because Will Patton is the reader.
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
What's happening at the library?
CART and Families Exploring Literacy will have started this week. And
CART is children and adults reading together.
and there are still spots available in Oxford, River Hibbert, and Spring Hill. So even though this is the first week, there's still time to sign up. So definitely give Julie a call.
These are great pre-literacy programs. They really instill a love of reading into kids, and they help parents and caregivers be the first teachers to these children. And
Definitely.
it's really, really great for school readiness.
Also helps get parents back into reading, because a lot of times we get comments on the CART evaluation where parents haven't been into the library since they were in school. And they update their library cards, and they're like, renting movies and reading books, and reading, mentoring for your kids is how your kids become readers.
Yeah, when kids see you reading, then they realize that it's something important, and, they get on board with it.
Exactly.
So what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we're going to talk about celebrity book clubs.
Ooh.
They exploded in 2017.
So make sure to take a look at our website. It is
www.cumberlandpubliclibraries.ca.
You will be able to find on there our top 5 list, information about programs we have coming up, and all of our social media handles. We're on the Twitter, the Instagram, and the Facebook.
We are.
See you next week.
Bye.